Machismo TV, the ultimate destination for modern men seeking to upgrade their lifestyle. Subscribe to Machismo TV and Saul T-Balls. We stream daily from 12 midnight to 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, the best male-centric content. Highlight reels without reviewing or providing any editorial bias to the content. We have done so much, with so little for so long, we are now qualified to do anything, with nothing.
Peace, folks. This is X from TPOT Media. Open your mind and wake your black ass up. You know what time it is. Hit that damn like button as you make your way in the door. Grab a seat, settle in, get ready. It's the Grown Man Hour with your host, my man, Bernard Riley.
What's up and what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the few infrequent and far between live shows by me. I don't know if the live show will ever make a consistent comeback. I do plan to stick to the Saturday shows. I do plan to stick to that. I don't know if you will see a regular comeback for the live shows during the week. And I didn't do nothing to my beard. It's a little scratchy. But what's up, everybody? What is going on? We will be joined by Hood Conservative. He will be here. Oh, no, he is back. He had to go change his computer. Oh, yeah, excuse me. He had to go change his computer. So Hood Conservative is back. And we are about to get into this topic. Shout out to Machismo TV. Definitely got to show some love. The link will be to Machismo TV. Shout out to Machismo TV and Salty Balls. The link will be pinned to the top at some point in this. But what we're going to be reviewing here today is a very interesting conversation that took place on the Roger Report's channel between what I would assess to be an all-star cast. They had it was Green Gorilla, Dennis Sperlin, BGS, Dr. Thunder, and I think LAR hosted it. It was on Roger Report, but LAR hosted it. So all-star cast, in my assessment, talking about the topic, making the case for the legal separation between black male and black female. I thought it was legal and political separation, but just legal separation. But we talk about the political separation over here quite a bit. So so we're going to be getting into that. But one interesting thing that I had, told Hood in the back that show, I actually had an opportunity to participate in that because Roger Report was supposed to be hosting it. It's on his channel. He had the crew all set ready to go, but then something happened. He couldn't make it, so he was just trying to find a stand-in host. So he hit me up. Well, I think he originally hit up LAR. LAR said he couldn't make it. LAR recommended me. He's like, just ask Bernard. So I did get asked. I wasn't able to make it, but I had an opportunity to actually participate in that panel. had I, moved some things around, and I could have hosted that conversation. So it's interesting now that we are covering it. But I had a chance to be on the field with that one, but I didn't. I couldn't make it. But
it would have been interesting had you been involved. Because I want to bring this up just once, because it's going to be tacky to make a whole big thing about it, and it's bigger than me, so I wouldn't try to make a whole big thing about it. But I've been saying this shit for so fucking long. I've been talking about this. This has been like my entire reason for being on YouTube. Like my entire YouTube focus has been on black women in politics, like going back years. I've been tracking how crazy and fucking unfruitful our political association is with these women. And when I mention this shit in different circles, a lot of the circles that were represented by the panelists on this stream we're about to review, a lot of these guys in the circle, when I mention that shit to them, you get blank stares and that deer in the headlights kind of look. And so now all of a sudden, y'all want to put this conversation together and my name don't get brought up. That shit's crazy, bro. But all right, whatever. Fuck it. I'm glad y'all niggas finally got on the train.
All right, Dre, you started this gangster shit. That's the motherfucking thanks you get. That's what you on right now.
Man, I've been making these hoes mad. Y'all just started pissing bitches off. I want to hear this shit from you niggas now. All right, I'm good. I had to get that off my chest, though.
Get that off your chest.
Motherfuckers act like they don't know who I am. You ain't gonna say my motherfucking name. Heisenberg out this bitch, goddammit.
Oh man, that's funny. That's funny. But shout out to everybody in the building. I normally shout out to the people that come in bright and early. Shout out to Frosty Ray. Said glad something good to listen to at work. Thanks, BR and Hood. Absolutely, thanks, man. I appreciate you. Jamar Roulette says made it to the show on time. That's good for you. I didn't make it on time, but all right. But Moneyline Parlay in the building says, yes, this is a topic. I mean, this is a worthy topic. And he says, we need to be separated. We'll get into that. Dreddy Bean in the building says, BR is live. Face blue wide eyes. Thank you for coming through. Body Thug in the building. Says back from hiatus. Well, and we'll see for how long. I don't know how much live shows y'all gonna be seeing. I do plan to keep the Saturday shows going. I may get like a set during the week schedule that I commit to. Maybe 2 times during the week. We'll see. He said, but OGPI says, watch this discussion live. Very much needed and appreciate it. Absolutely. I only seen it just in a small spurt. I like clicked on it, like ducked in and ducked out. Because when Hood Conservative sent me the email saying, hey, let's review this conversation, I had to click on the link to make sure. I knew what he was talking about, but I just had to click on the link, make sure he's talking about the same thing that I thought he was talking about, because I knew that this conversation was going down, because like I said, I had an opportunity to potentially host it, because they was Roger Report had to find a replacement to come on his channel and fill in, because he had the whole crew coming in, but he couldn't make it. So, but I read the email probably like 3 hours before the show, and I was thinking about how I was going to move stuff around, but I couldn't. I wasn't able to do it. But all right, let's go ahead and get into it. Freeman's Journal in the building. There's a lot of y'all. I don't be going live. So I'll be happy to see some of the folks. Freeman's Journal, what's going on? He said, Hood doesn't want to preserve the 20th century black-white racial dynamic. What is he talking about right there? Hood doesn't want to preserve the 20th century black-white racial dynamic. I'm not really sure how that ties into the conversation. Well, you can respond to that.
It's interesting he says that. Last night, I actually was, let's say, chopping it up with a couple of self-proclaimed white nationalists on a YouTube panel, and they're not scary. There's things that we can talk about. We spent a lot of time talking about the Holy Landers, by the way. That was fun. But I just don't carry the same racial grudges that a lot of black folk been holding on to since, like, I don't know, slavery or segregation or some shit. So I think there are things we can work out. I think if we shut the women up, the men can hash out a working arrangement.
Yeah. Freeman Jones says that is the problem. These guys want black to be a thing as if we are still in the Cosby era. I think the only people who are that strongly committed to blackity black and we black y'all as just a concept is really just the more card carrying pro blacks. I mean a lot of people that I hear in the conversation, they have a sensible understanding of black. and what I mean by that is, like Hood Conservative just said, he was able to have, tea and crumpets with some white nationalists, but he also got hood in his name because, I mean, let's face it, he's a nigga from the hood, but he views things a little differently. So it's like it's like some people have a healthy understanding of what black is, and some people see things only through the lens of black. And I think those are the people that are the problem. I think sometimes when you go fishing for people who only see things through that lens and that lens only, and they have no other perspective, I think sometimes you can start applying that to people who it may not apply to. And your next comment said there's a lot of pro-blacks in this space. I think there's a lot of people who are more pro-black male. I don't know how hardcore pro-black they are, because I don't know how pro-black you can be. But
Well,
when they but the stuff that they say about black women and the stuff that they go in on when it comes to black women, it's kind of hard to put them in the pro-black bag. So I guess I consider them more pro-black male, and I consider myself to be that.
This is kind of, it's a little bit of a gray area, I suppose. It's a needle that needs to be thread. But when I look at this issue, if you are so critical of black women and you're so willing to abandon black women, at least politically, and in the Passport Bros and the SYSBM movement are signs of a willingness to abandon them socially as well, then you have to accept that this quote unquote black franchise doesn't mean as much to you as you thought it did. And just make peace with that and be happy. And so I don't carry the same kind of emotional attachment to that concept because it's way too abstract for me to even put a lot of weight into. And then once you remove the whole attachment from black women, there is no there anymore. And so it's like, well, what are we even like clinging to this quote blackness for if our the only counterparts that we can get with to reproduce this thing down the line, if they're rejecting us and we're rejecting them, then we can let it go. You want to make up some new shit and call it black in the future? Fine, I'm not going to fight you. We'll see how that shakes out. But this shit right here, we have both agreed this shit is not working.
Yeah. And even with that, all those subset groups, all the groups that you named, and this is why I get just slightly annoyed when people say, "Yeah, I just need to drop the idea, the concept of black." Okay, you named SYSBM, Save Yourself, Black Man, Passport Bros. The Bros and Passport Bros is black. It's like that, Now, what else did you say? It was another something that I forgot what else it was. But so everybody else, we all the black manosphere is like we can't shake the lingo, the wording is just in the lexicon. That's just black. It's just like it's hard to even have a conversation without the acknowledgement of it. So that is one thing with it. Like the people the most staunch down in their separation can't even come up with a name for an organization that doesn't announce that they're black. And so that's why I just get annoyed.
I think what's happening in that regard, I think what's happening, and I don't know that it's something to fight against or pick apart. It just has to work itself out. I think we have like a cohort of black men in this space, and as evidenced by the panel we're going to review, we have a really sort of focused cohort of black men of very varying walks of life and even degrees of thought, like totally opposing degrees of thought in some ways, right? But they're all kind of trying to wrestle the mantle of black away from this monster that we all kind of are collectively looking at and describing. And so even though I'm sort of like willing to detach myself from black, like, I mean, listen, we're all black people in America. I'm not saying you're not a black person, like you just got demelanated or something, but this social political construct is worth abandoning. And that's not to say that the men going forward are no longer going to be black men.
Oh shit, you started borging.
But we have to break ties with this shackle that is blackness, and that's a very sort of abstract thing.
Hey, hold on, wait. You
but that is the direction we
you borged a little
need
bit. You said we had to break
to
ties
move
with what?
in.
Yeah, yeah. You was borging kind of bad. The last thing I heard is you said we need to break ties with something.
This sort of social political construct of blackness, right? It's something that we need to like examine, and it's worth abandoning, because, and the guys on the panel are going to point out all the ways why this concept of blackness is not serving black men.
Yeah.
And it's a weird counterintuitive position to be in, but that's where we are. Blackness is not helping black men. So we have the right to abandon that shit and forge a new type of blackness, if that's what that means.
That I like the way that you said that, to forge a new type of it. That made sense. It just, whenever somebody just say, you know, separate from that. I mean, I understand the concept. Hey, just being American. Everybody in America, everybody has category. Just watch politics. You see it immediately that people get put in boxes. People get put in boxes. They keep up with this vote or that vote. The straight heterosexual white male over 40 vote. Like, they're like, how do you know? So everybody has a box that they're in. So, but I don't know. I understand
that's another point to come back to, Bernard. That white male over 40 vote. These guys, they're going to kind of flirt with that concept, but they're not going to go all the way. And that was two of my predictions in this conversation. One, the issue of blackness is going to hold people back, and then two, the obvious thing to do is to align with people who might most likely support your interests, which would be the over 40 white male vote. But that's a harder conversation for these guys to approach. And it was fascinating kind of watch them totally sidestep that huge thing.
All right. Let's go ahead and get into it. Shout out to Emancipated Negress. She says they would get lost in manospheres. They didn't put black label on it. They have to emphasize their niche to be heard. The black manosphere's existence isn't just simply trying to make sure that you're heard and emphasizing a niche. I think black men do have unique shit to talk about that white guys in the white manosphere would be like, what the fuck? You know, they you know. So I do think that was more of what it was. That was more of what it was, and why the black manosphere even became a thing with a label, because it was a lot of overlap, but then there was some particular things to tweeze out, sort of like what they're trying to tweeze out in this conversation that I haven't heard. So let's get into it. This is a live react for me. Hood Conservative actually was there for the whole live stream, demanding the link. No, just playing. you probably was asking for the link. let me in on this, y'all. But
nah, I wasn't gonna rain on the parade.
But all right, let's go ahead and roll it. Shout out to LAR, who was hosting this on the Roger Reports channel. Shout out to Dr. Thunder, BGS, Green Gorilla. Damn it! Dennis Berlin was supposed to be there. Dennis Berlin, that's what I was forgetting. Dennis Berlin was supposed to be there. I think he was there. But all right, let's go.
As you all know, from the car to the office, you know the videos, you know what we're talking about. In the middle right now, Black Uru. If you don't know, you're gonna find out today. To the right, y'all we got this.
I'm gonna skip some of the
proposal that I believe will help to reframe the direction of the approach that Black men in America take towards addressing many of the issues that confound us. Thank you very much, the Roger Report Live. Thank you very much for hosting this discussion, for your support, your courage, your vision. Thank you very much for Compassionate
All right. So I'm gonna skip
Callous
2 introductions. My bad.
for organizing this event. Dr. Nation provide GG. I am ultimately the direction in which African American males, those of us who are descendants of American slavery, frankly, foundational Black Americans, ADOS, we know all of the terminology associated with such. I believe that we must.
All right, I just found the timestamp for us to focus on real quick.
All
right, good.
Demographic.
All right, where we at?
4810. Go to 4810.
$48.01. How about that? All right.
Which is just let me see if this is right. Are you saying in essence that diversity, whether it be in academia and corporate America, is pretty much not necessarily a business practice, but a sorority?
No, I wouldn't say it's a sorority at all. But what I am saying is that it is a way to virtue signal, to grandstand, and to demonstrate to the world that you're on the right side of justice as it pertains to the 64 Civil Rights Act, whether it's Title VII or Title IX. It's a way to demonstrate that you're abiding by what the status quo presents as the law of the land and what is considered to be the paramount form of justice in the culture in which you live. It means that you don't hate gay people, you don't hate women, you don't hate trans people, okay? You want to make sure that all of these so-called disadvantaged groups get pushed to the front of the line because they've been held back for so long, okay? Black women, okay? Black gay women, Black trans women, I mean, however you want to put it all together, okay? But the reality is, like I've been telling you before, yes, there are some Black women tangentially connected to women being included in the 64 Civil Rights Act. But we all know who the main actor and the proponent of adding sex into the act was to begin with. It was a fucking, excuse me, I don't want to use pejorative language on your channel if it's not something that, you think is appropriate, but it was a Democrat from Virginia, a Southern Democrat. His name is Howard Smith. He was the progenitor, the architect of the entire strategy of adding women into the Civil Rights Act of 1964.
Let's pause for a second.
Now, this is a fact. Everybody knows this.
Now, Uru had brought up the fact that white women and Black women were essentially going to be excluded from the gains of the Civil Rights Act in 64. And Uru was explaining how it was because of, I think, some Black woman in Congress. A lot of white women essentially lobbied her and got her on her side, on their side, and they were able to pencil in legislation for women. That's essentially the argument they're having right now. And now Green Gorilla is saying that no, it was a white man who actually wrote women into the 64 Civil Rights Act legislation. So this is an interesting exchange they're about to have. And this is what I mean about Black men. If you have to choose between siding with white men or Black women from a political standpoint, let's look at the facts. Let's look at the story of who actually did what. And so they're going to get into this little piece of history right here that I think lays out the political reality in a nutshell.
Mm-hmm.
Now, are there a small?
he don't succeed.
Hold on, Uru, because I'm gonna come to
He
you after
don't
he's done.
succeed. He
Uru,
don't succeed
Black Uru, just
without
hold.
support for female legislators during that time, and he don't succeed without black important female black figures during 1964.
Not really.
He don't succeed
Hold
without
that
them.
thought, Black Uru. I'm gonna come to you.
And Howard Smith, there's a lot of questions about what his motives were, because Howard Smith, his motives was actually to sabotage the legislature.
Exactly.
But what happened was there were some women in Congress, some white women in Congress, who collectively got with some black women in 1964, some of them of alternative sexual backgrounds, that buoyed and supported the inclusion of females into that legislation. That's what happened.
Okay,
of course that happened.
Let me
So
jump in
let's
for
let's
just
stop
a
right
second,
quick.
Gigi. Then if I'm wrong, you can correct me. Okay.
And so that little exchange kind of highlights the realities of it. So when you include the women in the political legislation, the men tend to lose out in the long run anyway. But dealing with the men, the legislation pretty much was the way it was. Now, according to what Uru is saying about this Howard guy, he wanted to kind of sabotage the legislation by adding women into it. So adding women into the whole thing was an attempt to sabotage your rights from the beginning. And so my position is that we got to actually try to now at this point anyway, it's just pertinent that our political futures are separate from the women, and we'll be better off trying to get closer to that kind of deal where it's like, look, maybe the men got to carve out some things for the men and not let the women work their way inside of the shit the men that the men agree on.
What I heard and gathered the most from that, and is that this debate either happens indirectly or happens directly, where it's black men start having a conversation of, are we blaming the white man for this, or are we blaming the and this is what it sounded like they were doing, like either it's a debate over, are we blaming the white man for this, or are we blaming the women who did what or did that? And then one person would say that, okay, it was a white man who put that legislation through, but that was it more of a situation of that the white man who happened to be in position at that time yielded and bent to the whims of what women wanted, and so to me it turns into a moot point, rather or not you're trying to charge up the black women who was on the ground pushing for it, the white women on the ground pushing for it, or the white men who bent and folded to it. It turns irrelevant at that point.
I wouldn't even get stuck on that point, because my thing is,
but that's the point. That's the point that gets stuck on. That to me, that's what I heard. That was the debate they were having, trying to figure out, are they going to blame a white man, black women, or white women? That's what I was hearing.
Well, if you blame the women, then you have to detach from the women. That's simple enough. If it's their fault, then you can't vote alongside them. If you blame the white man, well, then that's the motherfucker you got to deal with, isn't it?
Yeah.
Simple, right?
Yeah. But what does that mean from your standpoint? That's the motherfucker you got to deal with.
That's where the deal has to be made. Can't make a deal with these women. They don't fucking care. They're not honorable anyway. There are no deals between men and women. It's only men uphold deals and shit.
Right. Okay, so you're dealing with white men. Black men's dealing with white men is a matter of getting them to not use whatever power they got to aid and abet these bitches. That's essentially your your position.
Not necessarily in that sense, but look at it like this. From the black woman's perspective, she has every right to use whatever she can use to get power through and from white America, right? But black men, we're not supposed to use that same power. We're not supposed to go down these same avenues. We're not supposed to fight white fire with white fire.
Damn, say that again. Shit, I was reading something and I missed your point. Go ahead, say that again.
Why are black women the only black people allowed to benefit from associations with white America? If you can find your path to political power through white people, why the fuck can't black men? Now, we can't get that shit through white women, obviously, but we would have way more grievance in common with white men than we would with black or white women.
Got you.
Now, that's the thing that never really gets brought up by this panel. That's why I felt like I should have been invited, because don't nobody want to explain that shit. But, you know, I'm over it. It's cool.
That's what happened.
Okay,
of course that happened.
Let me jump in for just a second, Gigi. Then, if I'm wrong, you can correct me. Okay. This is the same thing that happened with Sojourner Truth in 1850 with the suffragettes, right? Okay.
Correct.
What was she's in fact what that woman said in 64 is the same thing that the suffragettes in what I forget what her name was, said the same thing in 1850. How are you going to give
Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stanton?
How are you going to give these Negroes the vote, okay, before you give it to your women, okay? How are you going to give Negroes the vote before you give it to women? And she kind of cleaned up her language in 1964, right? How are you going to give black women rights that white women don't have? What she really meant, how are you going to give black men rights and privileges that you haven't given to your women first, right? They did the same thing in 1865.
But
let me land real quick, okay? Just a second, okay? I've been patient. Let me land. Okay. She said almost exact same words verbatim. And guess what? The white men went for it back then and took it and took your right away to vote for damn near 100 years. And they did the exact same thing in civil rights, right? They knew what they were doing. And he knew that the white feminists that have been around for 100 years were actually would not go for this, right? And so throughout all this legislation with Title VII, Title IX, and all this other stuff that go along with this is white men giving white women what was actually due for black men. It's not the first time, okay?
But
been around for a long time.
It don't happen, BGS. You know better than I do. You know better than I do. None of this happens without the assent of black females. You mentioned Sojourner Truth.
Yes.
In your discussion, you mentioned Sojourner Truth. And those same white women that you refer to, what do they refer to justify their ends? They refer to Sojourner Truth. You know that. You know they don't do anything. There's no basis for what they do without Sojourner Truth. You know that.
Sojourner Truth. Go ahead.
No, go.
Sojourner Truth legitimizes everything that happens back then.
Okay.
Pauli Murray in 1964. There's a reason why, when the civil rights legislation that included females in that legislation. Do y'all know that was included in like a couple of days before the shit was even approved by the Congress?
Yeah, we know.
And it was approved by a black lesbian.
All right, hold on real quick. And this is sort of off topic. This is me reading the chat, which you probably need to stay out of. All right, the 313 says, these dudes don't like the actions of black women, but they say we need black women. Do you do anybody on the panel say that we need black women? I don't like straw man. I want to just say, is that the message? Okay, so why I don't know why I don't get annoyed much. I get annoyed if I hear somebody straw man in somebody, because I try really hard not to do that. Whenever I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's one of the biggest enemies of this space. If I challenge their argument, I articulate their argument, exactly as they present it, and then I refute it. So let's not do that to people within the space that speak and advocate for black men. Let's not do that, y'all.
I think it comes from a sort of logical extrapolation, if you would. It basically is like, look, if you are going to be Green Gorilla, I'm trying to find the timestamps now. Green Gorilla more than once basically explained that the ranking of things is race, class, gender. And I'm like, ooh, that's not working for black men. It should probably be gender, class, and then race, if at all. But I think because if you put race first, then that is almost by default going to put black women over black men, because black America is sort of matriarchal to a fault at this point. It's just stuck in this trap. And so putting black at the forefront puts black women over black men. And that's kind of the logical extrapolation that I think he's saying. That's at least what I take.
Yeah, I don't think they view it that way. There are some people, when they say black, what they really mean is women and uplifting and elevating the black woman. That's what some people mean when they say black. I'm confident that that's not what they mean. And this goes back to the conversation where the language probably does need to be different. And, in terms of making distinctions or delineations when you're talking about black, or even if you use the term pro-black, are you talking pro-black male? Are you talking about what's going to benefit black men and boys, or this or that? So, maybe distinctions or just a changing of the language needs to happen, because some people like to get it confused on purpose so they can straw man somebody and try to put them in the black woman is God, Dr. Umar, a delusional black woman can do no wrong Hotep camp. Like, I don't see that out of them. Only thing really, the only true difference. Okay, somebody like Uru, yeah, some of them, yeah. I mean, they get too far gone on the white man this, the white man that. I do agree with that. And Uru, we didn't win at it with Uru on this channel. So I mean, we know to deal with that. So there's some legitimate room for debate. I just don't like the straw man as if they're sucking the toes of black women. Like that's not what I'm hearing here. But,
no.
All right.
And I'll say this again. If we're gonna settle on the white man as being the prime motivator and the root of all evil, then that's the motherfucker we should be dealing with. Why are we even talking to these bros?
What do you mean talking to them?
Black women.
Talking about them. Oh no, a lot of talking about them. What do you mean talking to them? What exactly?
Well, in terms of like what black men need, it's apparent that black women have made it obvious in so many ways that they don't want to sacrifice their gains for the benefit of black men and boys, which is acceptable. I accept that. That being said, why are we even talking to them? Especially since, in this racial narrative, it's white men who hold all the power. So let's go talk to the motherfuckers with all the power then, if that's how it looks.
Mm-hmm. All right. Cool. Got it. All right. Let's roll it. Hold on.
Of course it was.
By the Congress.
Yeah, we know.
And it was improved by a black lesbian.
Of course it was.
Okay.
Look,
So
Black Uhuru, we're not trying to discount
to these white women and whatever. And my point is, this don't happen without black females.
Okay.
It don't happen. None of this happens without black females. Nor
does it happen without the approval and the power of white females, even today.
Or white men for that matter. And white men for that matter.
When Howard Smith, because you guys are talking about the 64 legislation. When Howard Smith,
let him land. He's gonna
when Howard Smith presented the including females in that legislation, white men in Congress laughed at that. Because white men did not want to include females in that 64 legislation.
Boom, there you go.
They
That
didn't
was
want to
it right there.
include that. The Democrats
All
in
right, hold on.
particular.
I gotta stop daydreaming on my own show. Hold on. What do you say?
Run it
Back
back
up.
just like 10
I'm
seconds.
gonna run it back.
15
Yeah, I
seconds.
did. Yeah, I backed up 15. Okay.
Laughed at that.
A little bit more. Run
Because
it back a little bit more.
white men did Congress
Okay.
in that legislation. White men in Congress laughed at that because white men did not want to include females in that 64 legislation.
Right there. Let's stop for a second.
They didn't.
Yeah, but why did they? I mean, it did. Since I think we got a long history of white men yielding, bending, folding, simping, or getting punked by women. I think we got a long history of that.
True, but we're looking back through the history, so we think things were not always the way they are. We progressed to this point, and so we're kind of focusing at a moment in time where you could argue this is where a lot of the power was lost for all men, white and black, because some white men were convinced to give power to women, and at that time, what black man was going to say white men shouldn't allow the black woman to do X, Y, Z? As black men, we got fucked by supporting black female power. Whereas like white men, at least there was a group of white men back then who understood like, no, don't let these women out of the kitchen. I like them just fine, barefoot and pregnant. And we should have probably stayed on that side of the argument. Again, instead of supporting our women who will eventually stab us in the back, we would have been probably better off making the hard deal back then.
Yeah. No, agreed.
Want to include that. The Democrats in particular, they did not want to include that. Their point was like, okay,
who did they hate worse?
There was like,
who
fine,
did they hate worse?
give these Negroes some shit, but we ain't including these bitches. That's what they were on.
They've done it before. It's not the first
time.
No,
but I'm saying in 1964, white men were not about.
Yes, they were.
Elevate. No, that's not what happened. What happened is you had black people, particularly black females, who supported including these females into this legislation. There would not have been any legislation.
You're giving black
Nobody
women
wanted to.
You're giving black women way more power than they actually had.
So let me ask this question to you, Black Uru. Now this is for you. You didn't hijack everybody else's plane, so you're gonna have to land fast, okay? Who in 2023 will support our agenda politically?
I mean, we're 6% of the population, bro. I don't expect anybody to support our position outright.
I do.
I mean, the only thing you can do is present what's right, and then present to the Congress, to the whatever what's right. You present LAR. We know the social science. We see the social science. How many black men have been ruined over the last 50 years in the current paradigm? How many black males can't get jobs, can't get employment, can't get educated? We know all of the social science. All of the social science is clear. So I'm not making an argument about whether or not we have a scenario in which people are going to do the right thing. My point is, this is what right. I assume or hope you as human beings will do the right thing. If you don't, then you as black men and black males need to make a different decision about how you're going to operate in this world.
I'm going to tell you this. The reason why I asked you that question is because you talked about all
let
the
me
other groups
jump in for a second.
Inadvertently and advertently helped the women in the other groups in 1964. So in 2023 to say, yeah, well, we just gotta hope and pray that people do the right thing in the United States of America, which that don't happen, especially with black men. I needed to see a level of where we're at as far as because once this separation actually happens, you got to let guys know that we're on our own.
Wait, let it
All
play.
right,
Let it play.
all right. I want. Okay, so yeah, I wanted to
No,
do an
because he's about
LAR.
to say. I know what he's about to
my
say.
response to that is, you're men. You're a man.
What's your point?
We're all. We should accept the fact that brother, I'm 62 years old. We've been on our own from the jump.
Not really.
No. My point is,
All right.
BGS, is that we've been in a world in which
Dennis is in the backstage.
we've
Sorry
been
about that, y'all.
operating as if we have allies. And what we've learned over the last 60 years is we don't really have allies. And those people that we think are our allies because they're our mothers, wives, and whatever, all these women who are divorcing us and are taking our children from us and whatever, we know the truth. We know the truth. These are not our allies. And I'm not saying this from the standpoint of hating on women. I have a black wife. I have black daughters. I'm not making an argument against black women. I'm making an argument against a system that trains women against us.
All right. Let me
That's
jump
my
in.
argument.
Okay. I'm gonna go to Dennis Sperling because he just showed up.
Pause it for a second.
Everybody had a chance to speak.
Sperling about to
All right.
like drop some shit. Sperling about to drop some numbers, and I like how Sperling approached a lot of these issues. But I think Uru, he's a little slow getting to the point. But I think he did kind of encapsulate the heart of the idea right there. It's like, okay, assume that you have no allies because you have no true evidence that you have allies. Like he just said, the people that you've been told all this time were your natural allies and support system, they quietly don't care about you. They will sacrifice you for their own short-term personal gains. So in a world where you have no allies, what are your next moves? And I think that is a kind of like that's a sort of question that maybe freezes people in place because it's like, what do you do next? And that's a hard psychological leap to make. Like if you really do have to break from this thing that you were sort of just born into, you were just inducted into it at birth. What do you do now as a grown man if you abandon this thing? Like it is sort of a frozen moment. That's kind of like it's a moment of fear.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that a lot of them, a lot of us, have technically abandoned that. I think that much is true. But yeah, what ends up happening is like it's almost like you're making a case for the acknowledgement of what it is, so people can just know and understand. But okay, now what do you do now? That's the part that, and I would say that that's kind of complicated. I get how and why that's complicated because Uru laid out the good case. He did. Okay, but now what? That's what LAR was getting at. Okay, you said all that. Now what? Where do we go now? So, and that part isn't as easy.
It's not. It's not. And this is why, like, even approaching this whole review of their conversation, and I was saying this in the background in the back chat, like I don't have any real like bad characters in this conversation to pick apart. Like there are no villains in this conversation because it's a really delicate thing. And even though I have criticisms of it all, I do understand the gravity and the complexity of it.
All right. Shout out to Freedman's Journal in the building. Says let me see. Hold on. Why can't that show up like I need it to? The Bernard Raleigh, there it is. Just sidestepped the political reality of having to have allies, and those allies are most likely white men over 40. Oh, I see what you're saying. Going back to when I mentioned white men, white heterosexual men over 40. That is probably a closer political ally. It's almost like we'll put it like this. Like, I think I just made the point. I think they understand that the whole idea and concept of who we thought was supposed to be our allies, we're supposed to be over in the Rainbow Coalition with white women or women of all races and black women and all the LGBT trans and blah blah blah, Hispanic, Latino. The black men supposed to be just lumped over in that box. Like, everybody we listening to here acknowledges that bucket over there don't help black men. Everybody has acknowledged that. And after that acknowledgement, it's just social and political no man's land. That's where I think most black men. That's where most black men end up. But communing with other men, over 40 in that demographic, a lot of black men don't go that extra step. So yeah,
it's more than no man's land. And I'll explain why. But I want to hark back to a conversation I was having with Keep It 100. And shout out to him. We're probably going to have another political conversation in the future too. But I was explaining this fact to him. Either we are willing to face our quote unquote enemy and work something out, or all we got left are these bitches. Either we talk to these motherfuckers or we stuck with these bitches forever. That's it. That's the deal on the table. I didn't make it this way. I'm just reading the fucking landscape. And we obviously have issues with our women and the political situation between the men and the women, the social imbalance that has to be addressed from a political angle. We obviously have a problem over here. This is an intractable power, and I'm not going to suggest that shit, but since you're not going to fight these bitches, let's go talk to these niggas, because otherwise they want you to go fight these men, and you really don't have a problem with these men as much as you have a problem with these women. So I'm just saying, either we work out something with these men, or all we got left are these bitches.
All right, Carlton Banks. Carlton Banks, I don't think you know who the fuck any of them voted for. I really don't think you know that. It's like I get annoyed by the straw man arguments. I don't. If I had to guess, I don't think any of them voted for Biden. If I had to guess, if I just all right. But anyway, we back on it. Let's get into it. But before we go, gotta do. Hold on.
Oh shit!
I got acknowledgement to Salty Boss coming through hard and heavy-handed. Says
20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 120, 140.
That's $100.
What?
Suck on my chocolate salty balls. Put them in your mouth. Put them in your mouth and suck them and suck them.
Now you cut.
20.
All right. That one $100 one, I got to change or tweak that one because I think that one gets a demonetization claim with the thing in the background. And you cut me off while I was talking when you push that button. But no, I'm messing with you, Aaron. But shout out to Salty Balls, shout out to Machismo TV, shout out to everybody in the building. But do appreciate you coming through hard and heavy-handed and your overwhelming support for this black male space. Thank you very much. Do appreciate that. All right. Digging back into it. where was I forgot, man. $200 super chat just throws off my whole, I can't even remember what I was about to say now. I done got fucked up. We was going somewhere. But all right, let's get back into it. Let's roll the tape. Let's roll the tape. I forgot where we was going.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here. I had some Friday afternoon father duties I had to fulfill. But I just want to say thank you all, BGS, Dr. Thunder, Black Uru, LAR Movement, the G with the PhD. It's an honor and a privilege to be here. I have a few things I'd like to point out. If we want to look at influence, I don't think numbers are as important as the will and how we move. What I'm saying is it takes about $35,000 in a major city like Houston to get a district court judge elected. So if we get $35,000 in campaign contributions, that pretty much fully funds a district court judge. That's a criminal district court judge. Civil district court judges are a lot less. For a politician, it's about the same. So what you want to do is just remember that if you have the resources, there's really not too much you can't get done. Politicians their influence can be paid for. We don't necessarily have to fill those positions. And when you control the law, guess what? You control how things operate. Now, what I want to do is present with you all this. We all look at the Jewish population and you would think, their numbers are overwhelming. But the truth is, they comprise about 5.8 million or 2.4% of adults in the United States. That's about, 1/3 of the number of Black men. Now, it's odd us having this conversation in 2023. If we were having it in 1983, people would look at us like we were silly. But, and I'm sure you all have gone over this, but, as of that Ice Cube fiasco, where the lovely ladies let it be known that, hey, their interests are different than ours and they have their own needs. Well, I think we do too. Let's look at, for instance, Black men, and you all know this, and I'm just rehashing this conversation for posterity. Black men don't benefit from welfare. We don't benefit from the affirmative action per se. We don't benefit from all these set-aside programs. It's very rarely that Black men will apply in droves for Section 8 just because we know we don't get it. And so, we don't reap the benefit of the, I'll say the blue people politics. And so that's why it makes sense for us to begin to go out and carve our own political agenda. Dr. Tiasan Johnson and his 14-point program that he has up on his website, it really demonstrates some things that we can put in play that are effective for us. So, I think that would be my opening salvo in this particular conversation.
Yeah, pause it for a second, please, because what I think is being proposed by both everybody on the panel in their own way, and even myself, I'm just being really blunt about it. But Black men in particular are unserved by the current woke, as they say, the diversity agenda, the intersectionality agenda. Black men we are unserved by this. And if we as a group in our small 6% of the population capacity, if Black men begin to break away from the liberal agenda, you're basically proposing Black men essentially actually break away from the system, not just sort of march and twerk about it, but actually abandon the structure of the system. And that's a huge thing. That's a huge, heavy thing. But when you do that, and this is the problem that I think they're just sort of not willing to get to the other side of the equal sign with this equation. But with this problem, if Black men are opposed to the modern woke liberal left agenda, what other ethnic group does that put us alongside by default?
The evil white man.
Yeah.
I think that's where you're going with it. The evil racist white male over 40.
I'm just trying to run the game out to its logical conclusion. Like, I'm looking at the scenario and all the probabilities, and I'm like, of all the probabilities, this seems to be the most likely. Like, if black men are entertaining the idea of abandoning all this diversity, inclusion politics, because it doesn't really serve us, it only sort of ensnares us, right? It gets us to go along with a political agenda that actually subjugates us to our own fucking women. If we're willing to abandon it on those sort of terms, that puts us next to the white man. And this is another argument I've been explaining forever. If black men, if we embrace this sort of down with the patriarchy attitude, you are destroying the very floor you need to stand on. If you destroy the patriarchy, where do you have left to stand when you want to plant your flag? When you want to exert
All right,
yourself as a man,
more conservative.
done, and this is what I deserve. What do you have left to stand on? Okay, yeah, I saw my thing drop for a second. But if you're basically going to help the women destroy the patriarchy, what do you have left to stand on when you want something for yourself, when you want something for your boy?
Yeah, agreed. Shout out to Captain Cisco, even though I'm not even sure. Hold on, wait a second. Shout out to Freeman's Journal too, but I'm trying to pull up Captain Cisco, but I didn't even get to read all of even Salty Ball's thing, what he said. Been a man, big salute, and keep holding the line. We are not giving up any yardage. Absolutely 100%. But so shout out to Salty Balls once again. And where we at? Captain Cisco in the building says, join forces with Elon Musk, still hitting aliens. Oh my goodness, he back on them aliens. Join forces with Elon Musk, still hitting alien spacecraft from the government. Get black women from Africa and Latina America. Build Mars colony.
I've been saying that for a while. Y'all not leaving me here with these hoes. I'm going to Mars.
All right. Let's get back into it.
Thank you. So I'm gonna go to you, Dr. Thunder, on this one. Okay. We talked about academia. We talked about just society in general. And you was using music as a reference. Do you see any way that, whether it be in academia, politically, or just societally, that we can leverage our excellence to make this separation actually work in our favor quickly?
The basic wait. I do want to back up to something Dennis Sperlin said that I got distracted on when he had mentioned something about politicians being bought. Political, that I think that is a major stumbling block, because when we talk about politicians being bought or whatever, and we say, well, okay, we 6% of the population, there's other groups and there's other demographics who are smaller than us, but they got politicians, doing things, making moves and all of that, and they a smaller demographic. I think what it comes down to is not the 6%. It's what percent of that 6% has a pro-black male ideology and are not going to ultimately push for the same stuff that the Rainbow Coalition pushes for, but just with more focus on black women. Like we talked about the last time we did the Saturday show. We was talking about, I think it was T.I. who did some, I forgot how many $1 million initiative or money was raised. I don't know if like some 70, 80, $100 million or something was raised for affordable housing for black women and children. I always talk about, and I hate that we got to use celebrities, rappers, and athletes, but Drew Holiday, how when he, gives, he donates, I forgot what percentage of his $24 million salary to black businesses and initiatives and this or that or blah, blah, blah. But when you go look at it, it's like, 85% black female owned ran businesses. And it's like, so even most of the black men who are in that position who could put up the money and buy the politicians and get things moving and shaking, most of the ones that are in that position, they don't ideologically have a black male focused perspective or position on it all. So you can't even just look at it as 6% of the population. Well, this other group, they got an even smaller percent than us, and they're doing thus and so. It's like, no, the 6%, I mean, the percentage of that 6% is extremely small who would do things strictly in the benefit of black men and boys. And I think that's a bigger political hurdle or stumbling block than what a lot of people would give it credit for. But he is right that, small groups can move and shake things, but I don't think we have a good handle on how small the group actually is when it comes to, a black male first political ideology.
I think what you're sort of speaking to, and what I guess it would require, is something like black male philanthropy. Like, instead of T.I. spending all that money on baby mamas, he could have probably bought 2 or 3 judges and affected way more change. And the kick is, for like the guys who have that kind of money that they can just throw at something and make some kind of tax write-off out of it.
Mm-hmm.
We have to sort of apply the ideological pressure on those guys, right? Those are the guys that we have to start to lean on. Like, let's get the simps bent, put some simp money into the manosphere cause. Like, that's kind of what needs to be done here. So, like, instead of having all these flashy athletes give all these money to chicks, like, you got to start talking to dudes like, listen, man, how about you start helping out something for the boys? You do something that only works for the boys and benefit the men. And that's a very, very grassroots ideology kind of thing, but I think that's the way it kind of has to work.
Yeah. Agreed. Blade Runner in the building says, we found the source of the law in the 60s. He says, we know what took place during the various, hold on, let me see if I can help myself out and make this bigger. Give me 1 second. Okay, actually, that's a lot better. Hold on. All right, we know what took place during the various 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s. At this point, black men have to be involved, working, and leading on every level. Thank you for the $10 super chat. I do appreciate that.
What do we get for $10? Everything you want.
Shout out to you. Appreciate it. All right. Let's get back into it.
Answer is no.
Hold on, let me get the question.
So we can leverage politically or, just societally, that we can leverage our excellence to make this separation actually work in our favor quickly.
The basic answer is no. Now this is why, and I think Dennis is spot on. It's money that's going to make the difference. When the pocketbook is affected, then that's when they will all of a sudden grow scruples and morals. You know what? We should have always done this. Yeah, right. And shout out to you, by the way, Dennis. It's good to be on the same panel with you.
Thank you very much.
So, one thing I think is interesting about this too is, before I lose my train of thought here, is when you start talking about black excellence, black male excellence in particular. Okay, I'll give you an example. I had a peace commission and this piece commissioned highlighted the excellence of 3 living Black composers, and of great significance. Some of the greatest composers, arrangers that are alive today, and playing that piece caused some of the students to declare that a piece declared to Black male excellence was racist. I work at a PWI.
This is fucking
It
hilarious.
was racist. And not only was it racist, the next question, and this is like a programmed response, and what about Black women? Now, there weren't any Black women in the band. And I don't even know that they know that many Black women. But that is the program's response. So anytime, so even highlighting the excellence of Black men, it causes this, it just causes this sort of response, like the system can't handle it. And people they just almost act out of character. It's strange. I don't take these particular students that I'm talking about to be alt-right or something, or like this is reverse racism or anything like that. I don't take them to be that way, but I think that because it's such a foreign idea, even in jazz, I'm a jazz studies professor. Okay. To assert the excellence of Black men in a music that was created, the primary architects or Black men, it's just very strange. And the last thing I'll say on this is, the Academy is really primarily in the curatorial business, and that is collecting information and storing it in the library. That's a primary role. The only place, the primary place where the Academy actually sort of dictates what's going to happen next, is sort of doing their social reengineering, is in social justice, right? So if you want to see what's going to happen in the next 10 years, that stuff is being workshopped in a lot of these women's studies programs and in many other programs within the university.
Let's stop for a second. See, we're back to this idea.
Nobody is talking about this issue.
Go ahead.
No, everything about the left social political culture, which Black women are totally tied into, by the way. Like there was some kind of hearing in Congress the other day about like transgenders and sports, and just guess which side every single Black woman that spoke or that was in Congress was on. And so this whole thing, Black women are totally entrenched in it. They can't pull themselves out of it. And it's starting to get to the point where maybe once upon a time it looked like it was cool. It looked like something that could maybe benefit the men in the long run. But now we're at just such an obvious crossroad where, like, if we keep going down this path, now you just know you're committing suicide.
Yeah. Shout out to Donovan Mitchell in the building. Says, we fund candidates. Will political party matter? That's a good question. A lot of people view it that way. The political party don't matter, just go for a particular candidate. But if you look at what your overall motives or agenda is, you fund that candidate, but that candidate is somebody who, you funded him, so you think he's going to do some stuff for you, but everybody on his team and around him is with the the rainbow agenda. So then it begs the question, like, is whatever you was looking to get out of that, are you really going to get it? The people that vote the same way as him, when they got to vote to try to pass something, everybody who wears the same jacket as him is going in that way. So it's like, how much is he gonna move and shake it for you? So I mean, it really depends. But that is a political way to look at it that is probably doing politics the right way. But I don't know if it's as cut and dry as you think. What do you think? He's saying we fund candidates. Will political party matter? What do you think about that, Hood Conservative?
I think it's a nice sentiment maybe, but the reality of it is we know what political party the black women belong to, and we know what political party that we're kind of seeking to break away from. So automatically you're declaring one party as enemy territory. So I think it does matter in some degree.
Yeah, that's sort of what I was getting at. You worded it a lot better, but yeah, I don't funding a Democrat. I don't know if that does anything for that. That's not going to do anything for black men. Maybe locally, maybe locally. That's what I was trying to teasing out in my mind. Maybe locally. Oh, but let me say this really quick. RM, put the scrolling banner of Hood Conservatives Cash App down there because Salty Balls dropped that $200 super chat on me and everybody else who's supporting Contributor Free Men's Journal, Captain Cisco, Blade Runner. I've made my money for the day, so let's put something on Hood Conservative books. Everybody, go ahead and and drop it. That's funny when we say put it on your books, like you locked up.
Listen, I take all that commissary money.
Yeah, man, put something on Hood Conservative commissary, man. Go on and do something. Go on and help a brother out. But
These last $2, I'm not gonna lose.
All right, shout out to Sir Tice. He says, "Were you in jail? LOL. Welcome back." Nah, I wasn't in jail. Just took a break on the live stream. Been studying the algorithm and doing the pre-recorded thing, trying to get in on that. I did talk about earlier in the show. It's a possibility. Like, okay, the Saturday show is always going to keep going. I may pick 2 days out the week where I'll go live. It'll be 3 live streams a week. Let's just say if it's Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, I may do that and may commit to that and try to do them at 10 and get out at 12 because I've been focusing on the pre-record. Some of them been going really well. It's a shaky game doing the pre-record, but you study the algorithm, try to do it just right. And yeah, you do it just right. Some of them will go viral. I've had some that one of them that hit 173,000 views, got a couple more that I got one that's trending towards 70,000 right now. A few of them didn't hit like 80, 70, 60. So yeah, I'm trying to get in that game, trying to get in that Oshay MTR game. But all right. But yeah,
What do we get for $10? Everything you want.
But yeah, so
Holy
sorry.
shit, yeah. Shout out to Salty Balls with the $50 Cash App, man. Thank you.
Right on. That's what I'm talking about. That's how you put something on Hood Conservative books. Right there. There you go.
Ooh, suck on my chocolate salty balls. Put them in your mouth. Put them in your mouth and suck them and suck them.
All right. Shout out to Salty Balls. The real MVP. But all right. Yeah, make sure y'all go and subscribe to Machismo TV. This link should be pinned to the top of the chat room. Should be pinned to the top of the chat. Make sure you go and subscribe to Machismo TV. All right, let's get back into it.
Issue associated with black men and boys. Nobody is talking about this issue now, means that we're at least 10 more years before the Academy even starts talking about it. Right? Well, I'm sorry. If the Academy starts talking about it now, we got 10 more years before you start seeing that in society. If that same sort of rule, the general rule principle that I'm providing tracks.
Okay. I'm gonna read these super chats and I'm gonna take this somewhere with you, Green Gorilla. So just hold that thought for 1 second. M Lavo, $10. I can't mess with Salty. Hot damn. Can we divide by 200 and accept my donation? Shout out to my show, my state, Bro GG. Oh, your state, Bro GG. I'm sorry about that. And let's get BGS a chicken wrap. Salty.
I think that joke that he's making right there, I think he was referring to Salty Balls. I think Salty Balls dropped a couple hundred over there too. So that, yeah. Shout out to Salty Balls, just supporting the black male space. Yeah, you have no idea how much that's appreciated. But all right, I'm gonna skip through the rest. I'm gonna skip through their super chats. But shout out to everybody who supported them over there. All right. All right. Shout out.
Bros
shout out.
helping bros.
Yeah, that's what it's about. That's what it's about. That's what's up. All right. I think we back. Let's go.
Good for distinguished black men briefly introduce yourselves to the world, maybe 20 seconds or so. We hear, y'all know who we are, blah, blah, blah. Well, we already did that earlier. So let's get to the actual topic at hand. So Green Gorilla, what Dr. Thunder just said, and I could have asked this to BGS because he knows about this, but I'm going to you for this one. Should we make more black male spaces online and offline to control what we do more? Because it seems like everybody wants to sabotage and it takes too long to fix it.
Man, I've been saying for the longest time, man, black men don't need permission to speak. You should say what you want to say. I mean, especially especially in terms of advocating for yourself. Okay. I've never said that you shouldn't say that. I've always been a proponent of people being able to stand up and say what they feel works for them or works to their benefit. But you have to be mindful of the fact that in the academy, when you start, this is a fact. Dr. Thunder is not lying to you. As soon as you bring up the issue of black men, they try to push it back by saying, what about gay people? What about black women? What about black trans women? Those are the kind of pushbacks that you get. I know because I've been there. Okay. Not only that, I just also want to add, when you look at racism for what it actually is, and this is why I say race first, class second, and maybe we can deal with the issue of gender later. Okay. Because let's be frank.
Stop right there.
White women are women, and
I knew you wanted that one. Pause.
Because that's exactly the conundrum that I think black men have been trapped in for the longest time.
Men have never.
My bad.
That right there. That if we put race first, does that actually put black men at the top of anything?
If we put race first, does that put black men at the top of anything? Not in the way that we currently look at race. But see, and this is an interesting thing. If any other group puts race first, that would put their men at the top.
Because their group isn't like our group, though. We're different. We're special.
I know. It's the whole ideology and thought process. So it's messed up that we can't even say that. If somebody is looking at things and they're looking at it, what's going to be better for black people. Like, I think in most logical circles, if you're thinking about what's better for a particular group, there's an aspect of it where it does, trickle down. If the man is doing better, then the women are going to do better, and then the children are going to do better, even though the women may very well be bitching about their own little rights and their feminism, and we want equal pay, and we want equal this, but you know how the structure actually works. You know that your attachment to that man and his success and your participation in his success, and y'all coming together, and then everything trickling down to the kids. Like, that's the process of how normal things are structured in a society, and it makes sense, and it's been that way forever, regardless of how much bitching you do on the side about whatever woman-centric initiative that you want. But with black people, yeah, it is literally a situation where, okay, let's do something to benefit black people. It has to benefit the women equal or significantly greater than what it benefits the black men. And then people look at that as black, power, black excellence, black this, blackity black. Everything is all good in the hood with black people because we got affordable housing for single mothers and children. It's like that's how niggas look at it. All right, hold on. Let me roll it.
Have power over white women in the United States. So to me, the whole gender argument is non-consequential to begin with. If you say that class isn't important, I would say, well, okay, I'm not going to even go to her. If you think that everything is just a function of merit in this culture and in this society, and it's not who you know and the networks you have, then I'm not going to even try to make an argument to to counter that. But we already know the history of race in the United States. It's a clear-cut example of how a group of people, not just us, but I mean primarily us in this country, have been subjected to injustice, exploited, and basically, had all kinds of acts of violence committed against us. Bruh, but the violence is primarily directed towards black men, not black women, not gay women, not trans women. It's been directed towards black men. You look at the lynching victims, who is it primarily? Black men. Not to say that no black women have ever been lynched, but the overwhelming majority of men that have been lynched have been black men. In terms of incarceration and people put in chains and people punished for running, primarily black men. Not to say that no women ever ran. I mean, we got instances and like evidence of like a lot of women, particularly Harriet Tubman, leading, slave, escapes. So we know that it existed. Some black women were part of, like the idea of resisting against slavery and things of this nature. But the reality is
even in our struggle for freedom, we got to give these bitches their props, bro. You see this shit?
Let me back it up.
It just occurred to me.
No, my mind went down a rabbit hole because I got to think about something I never thought about. Was Harriet Tubman able to go back and forth from the North to the South as many times as she did because black women were allowed to walk around a little more freer? Was that kind of what that was?
Harriet Tubman was an employee on the Underground Railroad. There was a whole system in place. She didn't build that train.
Okay, so why? Okay, so why she get talked about in history like she was a one woman show that was she drunk the purple herb from Black Panther and had a cape and was doing that shit,
So you can worship a black woman. The black woman was a god.
So she wasn't Batman on that shit. She was a whole system.
It was a whole system in place. You think she walked that motherfucker all the way from like Louisiana or something by herself?
God damn it. I thought she had a Bruce Wayne outfit and she drank the purple herb and she can fly.
Like I said, she was an employee on the Underground Railroad.
I thought that she had that, she was teleporting niggas, grab them and then was taking them and then coming back. I thought she didn't have superpowers. I'm shocked.
Like that. What was that lady Bewitched back in the day where she just wrinkled her nose and boom, you're free, nigga.
Yeah. I thought all that was happening. All right. Hold on. Let me back up a little bit because you said he was giving the black woman props. I thought he was talking more so about what they've been allowed to do and what black men have been prevented from doing.
He was saying black men mostly suffered the brutality of all the enslavement and oppression. We took most of the beatings, and he was like, I'm not saying black women didn't take a beating or they wasn't out there shooting with me in the gym. And then that's when he started talking about Harriet Tubman, and I'm like, bro, even in a conversation about black men carving our own political destiny, we still trying to get these bitches props. I see no point in that.
Yeah. Okay. Got you.
A lot of women, particularly Harriet Tubman, escapes. So we know that it existed. Some black women were part of, the idea of resisting against slavery and things of this nature. But the reality is the primary victims of racism are black men because we represent the biggest threat potentially to the system that they've established. So everybody uses this to their advantage. I mean, in order to put themselves closer to the trappings of whiteness. That's my viewpoint on this. I could be wrong. I doubt that I am. But the idea is the closer you are to white folks, the better off you'll be. But if you're a black man, you can't get close to that whiteness. because you're a threat just by your presence. That's why, if you're in the academy, the question is like, why are you around us? Why are you not in the field picking cotton? Why are you not chopping sugar cane? We know the woman's supposed to be here because she's suckling our kids and changing diapers and looking after, our children as mammies.
You know,
What
the
are you here
interesting
for?
thing about this, right quick,
Let's go.
these are all men who are either members of or have filtered through the academy. I'm not really sure about BGS's history, but I know Green Gorilla, Doc Thunder, Dennis Sperling. I know they've all either graduated or are a part of academy in some fundamental way, because Sperling's a lawyer. He's actually like doing things in the real world, so I know he's had to obviously not only go through school but be pretty fucking good at it. And so that is a hell of an ironic statement to make from people who are entrenched in academy.
Yeah, I hear you, and I know a lot of people, in the chat got more criticism of them than what I do, but that is one slight criticism I will have. And then at the same time, I'm not on the inside to see and experience what they experience on the inside, but they are pushing through whatever those barriers are, so when it's see, I don't want to invalidate their experience, that I'm not there to formally say that it's some bullshit, but I know when I hear Black women talking about all the various injustices, like for example, and I remember when JB was on the show, he was talking about how some company he worked for, how it was a Black woman who was getting paid $250,000 a year to go traveling around to different white companies and give them a talk about diversity. They're paying her $250,000 a year to sit there and have her berate them about how racist they are. And it's like when I hear Black women talking like that, I'd be like, shut the fuck up. these white people paying you pretty good to tell you how bad they are. So are they really that bad to you? It's like, so there is an element of that, when Black men get to those levels and they got the same critique, I give more credit and credence, and I want to listen more when Black men are speaking. When I hear Black women on that shit, I'm like, shut the fuck up. So I am more inclined to hear out Black men, but
I think
so,
there's
I just wonder.
I think there's a bit of sort of like envy in that position, because see, some Black men can sit in that position and be at the head of the class talking shit to a room full of white people about how they have oppressed him and mistreated him, and that's why he deserves to be there talking about their oppression and their racist history and shit. The problem is that guy at any point in his career can be checked by a Black woman. Can be checked by white women. He can be checked by any women. And so for those guys, I think they kind of resent that element of it. But at the same time, I think they still kind of, like, if I'm hearing Green Gorilla at least correctly, I think he still kind of doesn't really want to totally upset that system of things. He just wants to wield the corrupt power of it, perhaps. And I don't necessarily trust that. I think we have to just sort of abandon the entire system of things, because this whole system that just automatically puts the women over the men with all these false paradigms, like it's just it's a dishonest thing. And it would be a little bit more honest if the men would work amongst ourselves.
I know, but so is it part of was there an implication in what you're saying, is that you don't view Green Gorilla or Dr. T. Hassan Johnson as, men on the inside fighting against it from within? You don't view them as that? I mean, that's one way.
I'm not saying I don't view them as that. It's not that, but I'm curious as to where their outlook ultimately goes.
What do you mean by where their outlook ultimately goes?
Well, all right. If Green Gorilla is still saying he puts gender first, right? We're automatically trapped in the paradigm right away with that. So
I mean, put race first, you mean?
I'm sorry, yeah, when he puts race first, right? You got it right. But when Green Gorilla says he puts race first, I'm automatically feeling trapped in the same paradigm, right? And right here,
that's because you sprinkling too much Hotep dust particles. You sprinkling too much Hotep magic.
Fair enough.
Over it.
I'll accept that. He might be coming from a more masculine position with that. I can totally buy that. I will accept that. But again, it's an association I'm suspicious of. So I'll just leave it out there. But when we get further into it, I'm curious as to are you really considering yourself at odds with the woke structure of it, or are you trying to find a better position in it? Because look, when he says these black men are just trying to fight for whiteness, I could levy the same charge to you. You're not like, if you're accusing me of trying to get closer to whiteness, then I also accuse you of just trying to get more comfortable in wokeness?
Yeah, I think that's a legitimate critique. I think that a lot of people, put it like this. With the whole, this rather we talking. How do you want to? Okay, rather we talking about Dr. T, Green Gorilla, a lot of people on that side of the aisle. I would put BGS in there too. I think a lot of their view is it's not necessarily or at all even a problem with the whole liberal structure of things. I think more so they like it. They just want black men to get their fair share of that pie. There's not. It may very well be that there's nothing exactly wrong with the system other than that black men aren't getting their slice of it. That's pretty much it. So it's almost like not a separation, not a walking away, not doing things differently. It's more of like, yes, we're in the bucket, in the basket with the black women, the white women, the Hispanic, Latino men and women, the gay people, the trans people, and all the random. We over in the box with that, and we're not even trying to get out of that box. We just want when y'all dropping shit in that box, drop it our way too.
Right.
And I do think that's a fair, legitimate critique. A lot of people be straw manning the shit out of them, and I get annoyed. But I think that's the fair discussion to have. And will that work? Will that work? And even FD Signifier said we got to team up with all those people to tear down white supremacy. And then when you do that, you end up being, like you just said earlier, you end up being a man trying to tear down patriarchy, because they lump patriarchy and white supremacy all as one thing. So really what they're saying is when they say tear down patriarchy, tear down white supremacy, they're really saying tear down patriarchy. So yeah, so you end up being a man, you end up being a patriarch trying to tear down the patriarchy, which means that you're just switching. If the white man is oppressing you, this basket of rainbow coalition motherfuckers are going to be your next oppressor if they replace the white man.
Which ironically mentioning FD Signifier, he is ironically literally that guy. Because I think as life went on and he's came more into like his career and his success and all that, his woman doesn't work. He runs his house. He pays for her life now as the patriarch. And so in his quest to destroy the patriarchy, he has become a fucking patriarch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Shout out to Sir Tyson in the building, says, F the Boule in the Academy. There, I said it. Save for Soul and Williams. Most are regurgitating Marxist propaganda. Evan Lowry and Mick Warder. Thank you for the super chat. Do appreciate that.
While we gotta you gotta read the next one.
Oh yeah, Salty Balls in the building says, admittedly, so thine deacon was born out of the steering cash from simp channels. I know how that goes. I'll be bringing up my old simping days. Into the hands of black men and at the podium. hopefully this campaign has been successful. Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you very much for the super chat. Thank you very much.
Suck on my chocolate salty balls. Put them in your mouth. Put them in your mouth and suck them and suck them.
Alrighty.
Actually, hold on real quick. What we got a hold on.
You Borg conservative.
We got a
Borg
pause.
conservative. Okay, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I probably was Borging. No, I was saying shout out to Poseidon MGTOW because he came through with a $5 cash app. A couple of people just hit my commissary. Shout out to my man Jamar with the $5 cash app for the Saturday show. Freeman's Journal sent me $5 for commissary. Thank you so much. We buying a lot of donuts and tacos and Doritos and shit. Shout out to Black Thoughts with the $10 cash app. We buying cigarettes with this commissary money. We rich in jail tonight. Shout out to everybody though for hooking up your boy with the commissary money. Appreciate y'all.
Oh yeah, and I can't forget D-Rock Den. He sent a cash app sometime yesterday. D-Rock Den. Can't forget D-Rock Den. I wasn't even live. He sent the cash app. So shout out to D-Rock Den. Let's not forget those who just send the cash apps random. All right. Let's get back into it. It's up to you, whether or not you. Damn it! I know I said I had a hard stop at 12. It looked like that ain't happening, but it's up to you whether or not you wanted to do, a panel or whatnot. I don't know.
I'm not trying to get too deep because I got a show coming up in another hour or so, and I do want to take a lunch break. So, if you want to stop it at some time, we can wind this down.
All right, so yeah, we'll go a little longer. We'll go a little longer, then we'll wrap it up. But all right.
And if you are there, they're gonna cut your gonads off. I mean, there are examples of black men being made into eunuchs in order to serve as house slaves to white folks.
Yeah, you were never supposed to read as a black man. That goes all the way back to emancipation. The Mohawk Conference of 1890 said the exact same thing. Only the black women was actually supposed to be educated because black men didn't need it. You still hear that today, right? Black boys don't need to go to college. They don't need higher education. They just need to find a trade. They said that shit over 120 years ago. It has not changed, right? The thing is, they keep hiding these facts. Right? They bury this stuff, right? Like Dark Ghetto. I mean, you have one of the foremost scholars in the United States, black scholars in the United States, Kenneth Clark, wrote that book. That book has been buried for 60 years. Why? They don't know about it.
Okay, BGS, I got a question about this. I'm sorry, Dennis. I'm gonna keep it quick. Well, two things. Struggling Brother 1999, I believe. Thank you. And Beef King $2. Thank you. The question is this: are we afraid to be like black male first or black male centered or something?
We're not afraid. We've been conditioned, and this is something that Dr. Thunder said the exact same thing. We're actually talking about.
Can you stop right there for a second?
Signifier, right? Who's educated, master's degree.
I absolutely do think it's an element of fear, but it's not a direct fear in the same sense of like, there's a bully waiting for you after school or there's a guy going to rob you in the alley. It's not that kind of impending danger fear. It's more like a psychological entrapment kind of thing. Why did Green Gorilla revert back to like slaves getting their balls cut off? Like that's the fear that I think is prevalent when it comes to like black men being black male first. It's like, are you afraid that you might die in battle or something? Like what is it that I think what it is I think LAR is getting to is some kind of psychological impediment that comes from being so immersed in this like really heavy, bloody slave narrative. I think it just engenders a certain level of what you could call fear. I'm going to describe it as fear, but I think maybe there's a better word for it. A certain apprehension, maybe. I don't know.
All right.
On a PhD track, right? Okay. FDC. This is something that Dr. Thunder said the exact same thing. We're actually talking about FD signifier, right? Who's educated, master's degree on a PhD track, right? Okay. He said these men are trained to think like that. That's like I'm always put the Winter Soldier as a symbol of black men, right? You have to turn the chip off. Okay, you have 12 generations of conditioning, right? That you have to turn off. That is not an easy process, especially for 20 million black males. Okay, not easy process. And all you can do is slowly but surely, shout out to Dr. Thunder, shout out to Green Gorilla, shout out to Dr. T, right? Slowly but surely start revealing these patterns to look at it. I was just looking at the Ryan Cherubin Psych Act, right? He said the exact same thing. How do you change people's minds? How do you get people to see something different, right? You have to slowly but surely show them the patterns that the mouse trap that they're in, right? Okay, this is your maze. Okay, this is what you're stuck in. That's not the easiest thing to do. Okay, especially in the academy. You see how these kids turn out. Okay, the women, the men. Like Dr. Thunder said, there was not a black woman in the room, right? They still said, "What about black women?" Right? That's training. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't even know if they knew any black women.
They didn't. But
Let's go.
the thing, and this is something. That's why I always recommend the book more than Title IX. Okay, they wrote it as a sports bill, but the thing is, what they really wanted is to get hold of the educational system in 1972. So, and that's why I say Gen X is the experimental generation, right?
They know what they're doing, right?
Let me ask a question real quick.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'd like to add something. So what I do on my page, and you mentioned something about that chip. I call it the Queen Mother Goddess Simp chip. And so you guys, clearly I'm black male oriented. With my sons, I put my sons first.
You know where we raised, Dennis. You know it. We in the heart of gynocracy. You know where you're raised. So go ahead.
So here's what I do. I look back at one of the greatest psychologists, the undegreed psychologist that we've ever had in the black community. And that was the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And at the time, in the turn of back in the early 19th, well, I guess it was the 20th century, the early 20th century, he was confronted by a group of people, black people, who loved everything about whiteness. Angel food cake versus devil food cake. Everything white was uplifted. Everything white was pure and good. Everything black or dark was bad. And so what he did was he attacked them in their strong suit, looking at his people. And we even worshiped the white God. White Jesus was on everybody's wall. And so what he did was, instead of allowing them to maintain that position, he called them devils. And he sent his ministers out, and his ministers talked about the atrocities that white folks had committed to the Native Americans, to truly educating black people on what white people have done. So what that did was it turned a large enough segment of black people and made them look at white people and say, you can't be that good. And so what I do on my page is I take some of these facts that we have about our lovely ladies, the abortion, the baby deletion rate, reminding them of how many of their mothers treated them, reminding them of how they're treated by some of these lovely ladies, some of the songs. And, I go deep into it. But basically what it does is it goes to rewire that Queen Mother Goddess simp chip. Clearly, these people can't be that good if they've done all this. And so by doing that, I'm slowly training the men who follow my page to come down off of that black female worship. It's the same thing the Honorable.
What's going on? I must be missing a lot of stuff. Why is Sir Tice calling Dennis Berlin an admitted simp? He's talking about how on his channel how he does the hard work and heavy lifting of deprogramming the simp chip, the simp chip that's inside of a lot of black men. So why is he being criticized by people in the chat room saying he's a self-admitted simp? I see a few people saying it. Like, do I be missing something? Because I don't sit there and watch people whole live stream. Maybe he said something like, so what's going on here?
No, and you're right. I don't watch everybody's content as much because we all got our own content to do and research and all that stuff. So it's hard to just follow everything people are doing. But I would imagine like guys, like I disagree with a lot of what he's arguing on a sort of black narrative perspective, and I think a lot of the guys who are associated with the sort of black narrative thing, they probably have some simping in their past that they were honest about, and he might have said that openly at one time on his panel. So I'm not even trying to trip on, like, I'm not trying to get caught up in that element of it, because it's not the point right now.
Yeah,
To listen to his travel stories. I mean, hey, let him simp.
Chat room be clowning, man.
Be simping. And all right, I want to fight you right now. I want to fight you right now. You have simped. I have simped. Shit be crazy, man.
I've done. We used to do simp tales or simp chronicles or something. We did that concept over here. People told they old simping stories. I mean, somebody find those clips. Yeah, they can label me with all kind of shit, because I've done some shit that I don't speak of no more with the way this way niggas are now. They gonna clip that shit and make it seem like I did it 5 minutes ago. But all right, let's roll it.
Well, Elijah Muhammad did, and guess what? Out of his movement, we got the Black Power movement. We got all these other things, and of course, there was a lot of confluence in there from different things. But that was the greatest psychological tactic that I've seen played on.
Now, Sir Tice. Now that one was legitimate when he. I did take some outside looking in, issues. Dennis Perlin is somebody I never actually spoke to, never been on a panel with. Just coincidentally, just coincidentally, nothing against him, no problem. Just coincidentally, we just never actually, formally rubbed shoulders. But I did take an outside looking in issue with that when he, announced that he separated from the Black Manosphere. He did start, kind of shitting on it, and I don't like when people do that. When you shit on a group of people, but you also do the same content and make a lot of the same points, it just comes off as marketing. So I don't like that. I don't that I didn't care for. That was probably my only legit criticism I ever had. Not that I did a live stream talking about it. I just saw it and then was like, I ain't feeling that. But that's about it. But a lot of stuff a lot of criticism people be having of him. I think it'd be a lot of reaching. But all right.
On the people, because
we
were attached.
And the
Go ahead.
Hold on, I was just going to say, I think in the spirit of, the whole Black men carving out a sort of agenda that serves Black men, we got to be willing to be a little bit like magnanimous about things. So, listen, we can have criticisms. You can throw a shot at me here and there. I can dislike some shit you said or did. It's not a cause to start a whole conflict over. It's not a cause to, like, we shouldn't be at each other's throats because I dislike something you said or did, or vice versa. You dislike something I said or did. I think we got to be a little bit bigger than that kind of shit, because otherwise we can't get anything off the ground if we allow ourselves to get caught up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. I agree. But, all right, let's roll a little more. We probably
love
it up at 12:30.
People. We wanted to be white people, and in part we still have a lot of folks like that. But that's what I saw the Honorable Elijah Muhammad do. Basically, pound people with the facts about who their idols really are, rip down that mask, let them see, and then eventually you get something like the Passport Bros. You get something like Black Male Independence. But what I'm saying is you have to keep hitting them with these bad facts. And that's why a lot of Black women, when they hear our pages, they say, oh, you hate Black women. No, I'm just telling the truth. Look at your incarceration rate. Look at your baby deletion rate. Look at your murder. Look at your DV rate against men. And so that's just an idea right there to begin to deprogram or short circuit those Queen Mother Goddess simp chips.
Hold that thought for 1 second, Dennis, because I got a question for that. First and foremost, no placeholder $10 super sticker. I know Mr. Me Too and a few other brothers. Hold on, Mr. Me Too and Clobber Lang has sent cash apps. So thank you, fellas. But here's
Mr. Me Too sent a cash app to me too. Thank you.
Yeah, this is the question. Speaking of Elijah Muhammad and the God complex of white people and the goddess complex of like our women. Do you think us as Black men have an issue with administering punishment because we're not psychologically viewing ourselves as God.
Yes.
Everybody else is.
I think black men are far too nice. I think you're far too kind. I think you're far too egalitarian. I think you're too easy to get along with. I think you're too tolerant. Now, I've always had an inclining as a young man growing up in South Central that, you know, some of these crackheads that my uncles were dealing with, like, you know, they.
All right, we're gonna push pause on it right there. Probably about to wrap this up at 12:30. I do want to take some time to speak to what Rael just said right there.
Yeah, I was reading that as well. It's an issue for me too.
Using the manner, but I think there's degrees and levels to it. Okay, using the manosphere to sneak in that community BS. I think the people who actually do that are like the OGJ Speed types. I don't see them as that. So that's why it feels like a reach when people go there. He said this space is not a pro-black space. I don't see them being pro-black in the same context that people who actually wear that label are. Because being pro-black is to be basically pro-black woman, like in many ways. I don't see them being that. He said, yet these dudes on the panel are, he said, this is not a pro-black space. These dudes on the panel are pro-black. Why y'all letting them speak for you? For one, we can't stop. I mean, even if we did take as harsh a position against them as what you do, one, we can't stop them from speaking. So I don't even understand that statement. What you're really saying is we should have beef and our content should be about going at them. It's like what people, a lot of people just advocate for basically the black manosphere to be the beef sector where all we do is streams about other black men who speak from a black male centric perspective. And it's like, that's really what y'all want. That's y'all didn't want a sensible conversation about the topic of black men and black women separation, legal separation politically or socially or whatever the hell. Y'all didn't want a sensible, y'all didn't want a good conversation about that. Y'all wanted this to be a let's pull up on these niggas stream. And it's like that's what it's turned into, and that's what I feel like a lot of people are poking and prodding for in the chat room. That's, you know, why y'all letting them speak for you. I know I speak for my goddamn self. These are also black men who I do think they have black male interest in mind. I think they are, everybody on that panel was pro black male, and they're you know like so what that's why I don't be knowing what the fuck y'all be talking about. It'd be a bending over backwards. There is a nuanced disagreement, and I talked about that. And Hood Conservative do a good job at talking about the nuanced disagreement that goes on. But what the hell y'all talking about? Why y'all letting them speak? Like what the fuck does that even supposed to mean? It's like, all right.
Nah, that's why I was saying even going into this type of like subject matter, I'm not looking to pick fights with anybody, you know, on the panel, because I don't have a personal grudge against anybody, no matter how much we really do disagree. And I really strongly oppose the sort of pro-black position that a lot of the guys do come from when you hear them talk. But at the same time, it can't be a thing of like, you know, you got to shut the fuck up. Like, bro, we can throw the ideas around and see what shakes out.
Yeah, shout out and salute to the now retired Mr. Fantastic, retired at 40. Hold on, let me pull out the quick applause. Shout out to Mr. Fantastic. That is an excellent, great accomplishment. Shout out to you, retired from the military. And you know, I'm expecting big things from your channel. You got all this free time now, nigga. So I'm expecting big things from your YouTube channel. Fantastic. Yeah. So I just round of applause, round of applause, man. That's excellent. That's excellent. I didn't get a chance to do it. I ain't been live. I just, you know, I've been just doing my own thing, making the pre-records, but definitely gotta salute that accomplishment. But all right. All right. Shoot. What else? Damn it.
One
I said I
last
was ready.
thing. Hold on.
Okay,
One
go ahead.
last thing before the hard break. That issue of black men being afraid to levy consequences against black women. That was the last question that raised before we sort of hit the hard break with
Okay,
the
yeah, go
video.
ahead.
I think that's very real. And I think this whole conversation hinges on whether or not, as men, are we willing to see ourselves as not only separate from, but actually above black women, and then willing to behave in that way. That is the tough sell, but that's where you kind of have to get the minds of black men. You have to get men starting to act like they're actually we deserve to be in charge because we're men. We're above you. It sort of has to be a default setting because that's where every other man in the world seems to come from, and we kind of have to get back into that position of things.
All right. We going to wrap it on up right there. Shout out to everybody in the building, and definitely shout out to Machismo TV.
Welcome to Machismo TV, the ultimate destination for modern men seeking to upgrade their lifestyle. Subscribe to Machismo TV and Saul T-Balls. We stream daily from 12 midnight to 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, the best male-centric content. Highlight reels without reviewing or providing any editorial bias to the content. We have done so much, with so little for so long, we are now qualified to do anything, with nothing.
And with that said, ladies and gentlemen, we are out of here. Peace. We gone.